Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of She Who Remembers. Today we are going to talk about boundaries. It is easily one of my favorite things to talk about because it is something that is essential for every healthy relationship in your life. And so I did not know what a boundary was till I had started therapy in 2020. And I was speaking to her about this really awful situation that I had just been through with family and like my people-pleasing tendencies and my perfectionism tendencies. And she's like, you need boundaries. I'm like, what are those? What are those? Because I think so often we are raised with a certain set of rules and values that actually go against that. And so the beginning to this is getting really, really clear on what your values are and how you want to show up in your life. So you need to dictate for yourself what you're going to stand for and what you're not going to stand for. What is your energy capacity and what isn't? And the list goes on and on. And so this really starts with boundaries within yourself. What are you willing to accept and what are you willing to not accept? You need to set your own mental boundaries with your mind chatter, your own physical boundaries with your health and your discipline and your routines, your own spiritual boundaries of how you're connecting with your higher self and giving yourself stillness or time in nature every day, and just emotional boundaries. How are you interacting with other people? And again, what are you allowing in your life and what are you calling in? What kind of relationships and sacred reciprocity feel really good for you? And so this really ties into boundaries with everybody else. Why do we set them? Why do we set them with ourselves? Why do we set them with everybody else? We set them for peace. We set them to feel aligned with who we are and what we really want in our lives. And so it's so often that you'll get into these situations, and this could be work friends, this could be family, this could just be friends in general who may come across a little overbearing or not really mindful of your time or not asking permission when they want to share things. And then you realize, okay, there's a little bit of an energy leak here where I'm giving, showing up, answering the phone, and then you're not really receiving anything on the backside of that. So there's essentially no sacred reciprocity happening there. It becomes very one-sided. And so that's when a boundary needs to be put in place of, hey, this is the time that I have allotted for this. This is the energy that I have allotted for this. And then you state your boundary. And so I think so often people think that boundaries are like a punishment or they're hate or they mean like they did something wrong. And it's not necessarily that. Boundaries are sharing love. They are a way to be able to express what is best for you in order to show up as 100%. And so it's actually allowing the relationship between you and that other person to be at its healthiest, which is a blessing and it's a gift. And so it is also very common for having to set a boundary more than once. And so when we talk about having to set a boundary more than once, this is where somebody is not respecting your wishes and somebody is thinking more of themselves and what is self-serving versus what is best for you and or the relationship. And so these people tend to have more qualities that would pertain to their ego. And so with this, it does get a little bit more complicated because you almost have to be a broken record of, them coming in and not respecting the boundary that you set and you having to correct and then set it again and correct and then set it again. And this can get quite exhausting, but if you really love somebody and you really want to make it work, then you typically will just do this in hopes that things will eventually just pan out. However, in the off chance that they just don't and they just keep bypassing the boundary that you set, that becomes very unproductive. And so the best thing to do when that happens is just to cut it off and give some air to the relationship, like an accordion. You give air to it and it expands and it just contracts. And so you just need that time to be, able to process maybe what's deeper there of, what might be going on and how you can process different emotions and things that may be triggering you or affecting you. Hence, that person just wants to keep, poking the bear. And so essentially, silence there is the best answer. It's the best answer to give you peace. It's the best answer for them to hopefully go and work on the things that they need to work on and just to allow it to rest. And this also happens quite often. I actually had it happen to me recently. There's this woman that I met, sweetest lady ever. She got my phone number because I'm newer here to Arizona, and she is just messaging me all day, every day. And she's putting me in group texts, and she's, but like it's very much like assuming things and then sending the messages without me like expressing any, interest or desire or need to respond to those things. Again, just very like unproductive conversations that it's almost like I'm perceiving it as her needing a companion or her needing some company or her maybe just feeling a little bit lonely and projecting that onto me as like maybe that she thinks that I need that. And so I had set a boundary twice and again, just still going. And so that warranted a no response. So now there will be no response. And then if she continues, it will have to turn into a block or like another conversation of, hey, like this just, we're not doing this. So, and it's not, it doesn't mean that you don't like that person. Like she's a very sweet lady, but it's like you are constantly disrupting my peace. You are disrupting this energy field that I have created for myself. Therefore, if you cannot listen to what I'm saying and respect my wishes, then there are going to be consequences for those actions. And so a lot of people tend to place boundaries with family members because there is so much conditioning there from childhood, familial conditioning, religious conditioning of no matter what, you are there for your family. And this is not always the case. If you are being mistreated or disrespected or taken advantage of in any way, and I'm not even talking physically, I'm just talking emotionally, family likes to say things that are unwarranted as well and really push those boundaries. And it's like, absolutely not. I am allowed to state what I desire. You have anxiety to go home for, family Thanksgiving or Christmas because they're asking you about your relationship. Are you having the baby yet? Or, did you buy the house yet? And all of these things that make you feel less than. No, you don't have to take it. Hi, I didn't ask your opinion actually, but thank you so much. We're moving on now. Or, they want to be negative or talk shit about somebody. That's not my experience. I actually don't agree with that. I don't want to be a part of this conversation. Again, removing myself from this conversation. And so it's like you get to create your own reality. You get to create what you're surrounding yourself with. And when you're first doing these things, it becomes a little bit uncomfortable to put them in place because you're like, this is just not normal. Like this doesn't feel like it's just rolling off the tongue. Yes, you have to do it time and time again, and then it becomes easier. And then you start to become more embodied in who you are and what you will accept and what you won't accept. And it just becomes like second nature. Like, hey, we're not doing this. This is not going to happen around me. Like, I don't want this experience. And so I've had to set boundaries constantly since 2020. And it just becomes, very just straight to the point of it. I've already told you we're not speaking about this person or this person or this thing or whatever the case may be. If you continue to do this, then your preference, the consequence of whatever that thing may be. So it's like, if you want to continue this behavior, we will no longer speak. If you want to continue this behavior, then whatever, insert whatever the thing is. And so you get to decide what that is for, again, your energy capacity and what you're reflecting is best for you and what you kind of want that relationship to look like. And so it is very interesting because as you start to put your boundaries in place, you start to really feel peace. You start to really feel into yourself of like, wow, I am genuinely creating the life that I desire by calling in what energy is meant for me. And so when you have really close friends, after you've set boundaries, you have really close friends, it's like a known thing. Like me and my girls, it's just like, I see you, and I'll take extra energy to be there for them if they're going through a hard time, because that's just what you do, because we have this sacred reciprocity. Like if I'm down and I'm not okay, my friend's going to be there for me, vice versa. And so it's beautiful because it's just this knowing of like, we respect each other's time, we respect each other's energy, and like we give each other that space to breathe. But somebody who comes from a different approach of the codependency, or just wanting all of your time and not giving the same in reciprocation, that's a very different story. Someone who's pessimistic or negative to be around. And so you'll start to see the patterns of the people that you do or don't need to set boundaries with. Some people just have the emotional intelligence of the all-knowing of they just live in embodiment with the boundaries because they embody it themselves. Therefore, they know how they're going to do that for you. They're not going to call you 4 times in a row if you don't answer. They're going to call you once, and then they know that you're going to get back to them. It's like living in a relationship there's no anxious or avoidant attachment styles. It's just a healthy attachment of like, we're here for one another. There's so much love and there is sacred reciprocity. So it is really beautiful being able to know these things and apply them to your life and have the tools to do so. And so the way that you would typically set a boundary is you would start with like an I feel statement, because it's about you. It's not about the other person. Whatever's happening with the other person, that's their own projection of their shit that they're putting on you, and that has nothing to do with you. You get to decide how you react to that, right? But that's not your experience. Your experience is what you feel and how you perceive this, right? So you can say something, I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed by the amount that you're messaging me, and I'm really needing some space, some solitude right now for myself. I'm just feeling that my capacity is running a little bit low. Therefore, my preference is that you please just like stop messaging me every single day unless, it's a dire emergency, unless you really absolutely need me. If you continue to message me every single day, I'm going to have to step away or block your number, or I'm going to have to quiet communication for a bit, however you'd want to word that. And these can be a lot nicer than the example that I'm saying right now. It just depends how severe the situation is or how many times you've set that boundary to really take that next step. Thank you so much for understanding, wishing you the best. And then you now are that person where that person knows, I can't go to them anymore and take. I can't. I just set a boundary. I just put my wards up, my energy fields. And if you want to continue, that's a different story. And so typically, it gets real fun here. These people will use other people to get to you because, okay, you set a boundary with this person, so this person's going to use this person to monitor you, to question you, to poke at you, to get information from you, to source information, to try and communicate with you. That is crazy. But it's so common. And so when that happens, especially, unfortunately, that person who's the messenger has to deal with the repercussions of that. You're going to get short, emotionless answers, period. Because unfortunately, that's not coming from that person. This does take a lot of intuition and discernment, though, to know that that's genuinely happening. My gosh, exactly. Like, you have to have such a connection to know you would typically know. If you're listening, like, you would know. And so with that, again, you know that this is just the messenger. So same rules apply. Like, you just won't engage in whatever is happening there, because that's not coming from that direct person who's speaking to you. It's coming from the person that you set boundaries with. And so this just becomes a little bit like disrespectful and a little bit, what's the word I want to use? Invasive. Invasive. So yeah. And then if it gets crazier than that, then you take more precautions, restraining orders, cops. I mean, there's endless options there, but we're just going to leave this at the straight up boundaries with people who are too afraid to face themselves and what they're dealing with. So it's easier just to project onto you and try to take your energy. And so stay really strong and hold your own, and know that genuinely the people that are meant to be in your life are going to respect you and your boundaries and what's best for you. And the people who get offended or try to lash back out or try to break your boundaries, or, you know, all these number of things that make you feel like you're doing something wrong, absolutely not. Those are people that do not need to be in your life, period. And there will be no guilt about that. No guilt about that. People show you who they are very clearly and very quickly. And so you need to embody that and know that and really love yourself in this, and be so proud of yourself for holding your own and doing what's best for you and your higher self. That's it. That's it. There is a negative anything, comment, post, whatever it is, after you set a boundary, that tells you everything you need to know. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you. If you have any questions, this is a quick little video on boundaries. Granted, this can go so much deeper. It's so nuanced. Please do not hesitate to post your questions below. You can reach out to me on Instagram at House of Antonia Co. And yeah, we'll be back soon. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you being here. You know what, guys? Pause. The last thing I am dying to remind you of, I can't remember where I heard this quote. It was somewhere on Instagram, but oh my God. You cannot get in trouble with another adult. Let me just repeat it. You cannot get in trouble with another adult. Period. Okay? So if somebody is trying to assert dominance onto you, or a parental figure, a grandparent, somebody of what they think is authority onto you, a boss, if they're abusing their power and trying to demean you or make you feel like you're in trouble with them, I want you to know that you cannot get in trouble with another adult. Period. End of story. Just know. That's toxic and that's not okay. So I don't want you to feel bad about having to set boundaries with loved ones or with a boss or with somebody who is very prevalent in your life, because sometimes those are the most important people that you need to set boundaries with for your peace of mind and your sanity. So take this as you will. That was just a little disclosure. You all just need to digest that, understand that, and listen to that as many times as you need to. Okay. Much love.